Hello, welcome to X-Clam Chess. In this video lesson, I'm going to be showing a famous game that was played by Bobby Fischer as the white pieces, and Reuben Fine was playing as the black pieces. So here we have E4, best by test as Bobby Fischer would say, E5, knight to F3, knight to F6, and here Fischer played bishop to C4. This was different than his usual bishop to B5 going into the Spanish game. Here he decided to play bishop to C4. And here bishop to C5. And then here Fischer decides to play B4. This is an interesting pawn sacrifice called the Evans Gambit. It leads to a really interesting position where white will give up a pawn in exchange for rapid development of all of his pieces and in order to get control of the center. And here Fine decided to capture the pawn, accept the sacrifice. You can decline the sacrifice by playing bishop to b6, but in my experience, if your opponent wants to sacrifice, it's usually best to accept it and then make them prove that they have compensation for the material that they're giving up. That's just my view anyways. And so after bishop takes on b4, we have c3, bishop to a5, and d4, e takes d4, and then Fischer castles. And so now Fischer's sacrificing a second pawn, but in exchange the material that he's given up will give him an advantage in developing his pieces and will give him an active and dynamic position. And now d takes c3. This move is a little bit greedy. Instead of trying to bring out and develop some of his pieces into his very undeveloped position, Reuben Fine decides to take another pawn. And queen to b3, developing while attacking. Now the queen and bishop are charged up and are forming a battery which strikes at f7, threatening to take with check. So queen to e7 was played to defend. And now knight takes c3, regaining one of his pawns while developing the knight. And now here we have knight to f6, knight to d5, knight takes d5, e takes c5, knight to e5, knight takes e5, queen takes e5, and bishop to b2, then queen to g5. And here I would like to point out some of the differences in the player's position that has been happening. Bobby Fischer has more of his pieces in play. He has a queen and both of his bishops, as opposed to just one bishop and one queen. Also, his king is castled safely to the side of the board. And his rooks are now connected on the back rank and are communicating with each other. And now let's take a look at what Reuben Fine has. 2 extra pawns. That's pretty much it. His king's safety has been somewhat neglected. He hasn't castled, and a number of his pieces haven't moved yet. And pieces that he does have out and developed aren't exactly going to help save him from being checkmated. And here, h4. This move will deflect the queen. After queen takes h4, now bishop takes on g7. And rook to g8. And then here, rook f to e1 check. And then king to d8. One thing I will point out here is that even if the bishop takes on e1 after the rook captures back, this will lead to the same result that we'll see in a moment. Let's go back to king to d8. And after king d8, queen g3 is played. And after this move, Fine resigns. Because if queen takes g3, then bishop f6 is checkmate. And there's not really a good way of preventing a checkmate from happening. And so because of this, Reuben Fine decided to resign. And that's all for this lesson. Thank you for watching.